On this lovely 222 portal, we'll begin with the episode dedicated to relationships. And then, if all goes well later on, we'll have another one that gets to chit chat about embodying yourself mindfully in compassion and knowing love, soul, spirit, God. That one will be with the lovely stories that I get to share from my 5D mystic spiritual self help, mindful living, and loving life. And the consistency of having God since as a kid is awesome. Then moving into being a mystic, also awesome. And the 5D collective, we do Dharma, not karma. Why? Because we have the coherent state thanks to embodying our own empowered divine feminine and our empowered divine masculine and masculine feminine. That's basically where we have the integrated brain, the integration of the brain. And so pure consciousness has a sense of self that gets to be dynamic because I own my child parts and they're all asleep. And when they come up, I'm the grown up, functional inner child adult who delights in myself and allows me to be me and says, you take me as I am, otherwise we're not good. And so you don't lecture me, you don't dictate me, you don't bring in your sympathetic and your childhood trauma to me, and that's half safe people, even though they're not really safe at all. They're just pause selves. So a relationship is only going to be built when you are a non-traumatized, securely attached human being who knows how to be what Terry Real will call a functional adult. Patrick Tiahan, an open-hearted inner child adult who has gotten out of that. I'm going to call it what I know it as, since I was already this as an adolescent, a functional inner child adult who has the capacity to metabolize all the depths of sensations, images, behaviors, affects, and meanings, and that's the emotions, thoughts, feelings. Because Maria has an ego self and she's presenting who she is, and you accept and take me as I am, the death do you part, sickness and in health means I'm going to be happy. So you have the desire for that, which is why monoamory, polyamory don't matter. You have compersion. Otherwise, you don't love me. You're not wanting a true relationship. You want somebody to fulfill a void and really to fulfill something that you're afraid of. Okay, so those who have insecure, non-secure attachment, I'm not talking to those people as a 5D Mystic Mentor, Content Creator, podcast host who inspires human potential. Infinite higher human conscious potential experiencing is what 5D Collective does. So we do Dharma and Destiny. Karma and Fate are for people who disregard going to get their butts to Patrick Tian to heal their inner child and get out of projecting what is their business or a territorial. So unfinished business are adaptive child part people, and that's where they're very uninteresting relationships completely. So as an adolescent, I was telling already my boyfriend, even though I was monoamory at the time, about the I'm not jealous or possessive. You ain't mine. Compersion, our wholehearted participation in the happiness of others. It is the sympathetic joy we feel for somebody else, even when their positive experience does not involve or benefit us directly. Okay, so with him, the difference is that I didn't have what the younger generation luckily today has, which is the opportunity to talk about, let's open our relationship. Let's do something where we're able to completely enjoy talking. Why not? I'm not afraid of losing you because the vow is between two people as we speak to each other with integrity, with honesty, with transparency. You only do that when you can be yourself mindfully in compassion. Means you accept yourself. And as Terrio points out, that means that you know somebody can see you as crooked and you not be crooked. You don't have shame here. You have integrity here, which is why you will live with society. But in the absence of what needs Patrick Tiahan, people who have shame, blame, fault, revenge, who perform, who feel it's hard work, that's called defectiveness, and that can be healed. And they won't know love until they actually become completely safe people. They have to become, I love myself first, my happiness comes first. If you don't have compersion, then you don't love me. It's a very specific way to be able and just say non-traumatized, securely attached people. We're empowered inner child adults for a reason, and that's because we didn't get disrupted. So the higher self leads the way. True relationships are built with people who have consciousness in the forefront because you're a whole self, not a pause self that is projecting unfinished business with me. You build it with love, kindness, compersion, and listening. You are able to be yourself, accepted, and unconditionally loved with your own flaws, imperfections, and with integrity. So again, the authenticity comes because we're not afraid to be ourselves, but also we prioritize our inner world, which is also why love is not a performance. It's an investment of my time, your time, of my whole self and your whole self. It involves being yourself, not a pause one, not a mask, not a Cusco, not a hostile, not a doomsdayer, not a doer, not a ghost, not a are we good? None of that, which is a person who again needs Patrick Tian or an adaptive child who's going to wield their mouths to make me have to say what they want me to say because they have to control the situation, and then get unforgiving, harsh, judgmental, characterological distinctions. You're a little sympathetic, getting in my face, using words. Okay, that's Terry Real, where he gets people to move into a functional adult. I talk to you about my feelings. I talk to you about what's going on. I talk, and we talk about the vulnerable parts too. Okay, so it's an investment of time and a whole self. That's what love is. And that's because securely attached people love, because the oxytocin gene hormone is on. Those who are afraid to lose you, that's called not securely attached people who need to learn to love themselves first, as otherwise they won't know how to love you. They don't even know how to love themselves. Happiness is necessary for you to live a fulfilling life. And while some will want to talk about failures and successes, those are the people who are not in the pattern and habit of knowing how God is good and doesn't punish us and tests us and all that other stuff. So people who think God does that, again, they're in a different group. They're not here. And I know who they are. I'm going to leave that to the side for our next conversation so we can just finish reading up. So love, not a performance. It's an investment of your time, the self of you. It involves you being yourself, sharing who you are as you are with your higher self. So you take me as I am, I take you as you are, and we talk about those aspects of the personality patterns, because that is really what we're going to end up in. But as for those characters of what makes you happy, what makes me happy, that's the part of where when you have a person and people who are open-minded, because that's what it takes to be integrated, and the happiness button, okay, so self-fulfilling people, self-loving, self-accepting, self-compassion. It's not about perfection. It's about the capacity to understand we are flawed, imperfect, different, right? We want different things in life. So this never been hard for me personally. Those who I've met who have it hard, I will always say, Patrick Tian, to real. I'm an adolescent. I'm telling my boyfriend, I'm not jealous. I'm not possessive. You're not mine. I won't do this. I won't do this. Da, 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 da. And here's what I want in my future. And I got to keep moving in that direction. And the last time somebody said you should change, you could change, I thought you would change. I can only let you all know that it's hilarious, because when it has happened, I've been like, you know, that confused face, like, okay, maybe I didn't say it right. No, I did say it right. They just don't understand what the word I don't change means. And that's where the smart therapists have informed me of why. So I have a whole self. That's why I don't change. She expands. And those who instead need to own themselves first, that's where they go to Patrick Tian and Terry Real. Okay, so we share our true selves with each other and life, and that's consciously because of that lovely integrated bilateral vertical overall brain. And we talk about, again, sensations, images, behaviors, affects, meanings, all. And that's very important because we also support each other as partners to become completely self-agents, autonomous. And that's the nice thing about self-regulating. So relationships don't affect our healthy self-regulation. We self-regulate with equanimity and unconditionally loving body, mind, integrated brain, open spontaneous heart, and self. Okay, so you own your sense of self and all child parts as a non-traumatized, securely attached individual, mystic, or spiritual person. The 5D mystics, spiritual and mindful people practice mindfulness and presence because we use our prefrontal, because we are in that ventral vagal, okay, and that's by choosing it. So we anchor in ventral when I was an adolescent, even as an 18-year-old. My BFFF was the third cheating incident with my boyfriend, and I waited 7 days because I said, you are right now very upset. You need to process this so you can actually talk to her the way you would talk to her. That's what common sense is. You don't suppress it though, you process it. Process it means you allow an inner growth mindset, neutrality and duality, because we all have subjective perspectives. So integrity means that I can be crooked, you can be crooked. You are all sinners, I included. I don't play God. This is why any person who wants to play God, I disregard them completely, because I know exactly what I hear. Because their tone will tell me what their nervous system is. And when I meet adaptive child, that's exactly who they are, the ones who play God. But that's again for other episodes. So spirituality simplified, FYI, living a life as a whole securely attached person who can think things through and feel emotions and sensations with ease thanks to being anchored in ventral energy, our oxytocin gene hormone, the one of love. It is on all the time and has us using eustress, that's good stress, since we self-regulate in our social engagement system. And anybody who's not doing it, they don't have to. I know how to do it, and I can explain it because I got attachment trauma informed and can look back. Again, as an adolescent, was I this mature in my... No, I got here though. In the meantime, I was mindfully aware enough, and I had already committed to Jesus' forgiveness. And God, in fact, to my BFF, once I went there, I said, I follow Jesus, so I don't understand how you didn't tell me the truth. Like, immediately as we're walking away. Instead, you threw someone under the bus. I learned from it. I won't ever do something like this again. I thought I could trust you. Instead, you had me talking shit about somebody. That's another sin. But I take responsibility, so I learned how not to do that. And yeah, it was complete. I was afraid. Okay, again, I repeat. I forgive. I follow Jesus. You saying you're afraid doesn't make sense to my logical brain. It means you didn't believe I would. But again, so when people are scaredy cats, that's why by the time I'm 19, cowards, no Lucifer, just cowards, God, that's it. And I'm 45. Yeah, there's no Lucifer as a mystic as well. The lower frequency people, they all could use a therapist. They don't have to. And that's where we leave it, because as God did inform me, stop judging human suffering, because it breaks the heart of pure consciousness. That's pure love. That's a inner child who's a grown-up when I am around, because I'll perceive your inner child that's suffering. It's your nervous system. No, it's your child charge parts. I will pick it up. Luckily for me, I've learned how to completely regulate again and not perceive it. But my point is human suffering. There's that Zen master is all I'm going to say. So God reminds me again and again, every time I get to have some hypnotherapy session and other stuff, to it's not yours, and some people will choose that. So you can choose love or you can choose fear, which will be the human suffering narrative that all these people have, which is why Stephen Porges didn't write his book on what true love is, which is only going to happen when you're a securely attached, healthy self-worth person who self-regulates, and I can sit with you from today to tomorrow because I am safe in my body and my mind, and that's with another human, versus what the half-safe people who are not safe at all. You just learn their facade game, and that's about it. And that's actually why there's not an energy vampire dark aura. It's either you're a loving person or you're not. And loving means that you can be what Terry Real says. I accept that you might think of me as crooked, and I won't look at I won't be ashamed. And when somebody gets in my face about it, as a grown up, the only thing I can tell you is I don't I think maybe I should leave. Don't you? Again, I think I should leave because this isn't happening right now. You don't get insulted when you're a functional inner child adult. I'm an empowered inner child, not a hypervigilant one. And I got taught by my mother what it looks like when those grown-ups who are very, very rude in their sympathetic get in your face and yell. Yeah, no, they don't have manners, Maria. But remember, I taught you manners. So anytime anyone gets into their sympathetic, they have no manners. I learned to be quiet. Also, I'm 4'9". And so we choose the 5D collective to live a life as a restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, and regulating, mindfully living and loving person, or mystic, or spiritual. Come and join us. We use mindfulness and meditation in everyday life. That's why if you become a paid subscriber, mindset, mindfulness, mindset practices, video exercises, it'll start rolling out once we have a number of subscribers, or once we have our lovely tiers on YouTube. We use the bright sides of neuroplasticity, so our imagination is full of joy and laughter, and we do know about those dark sides of neuroplasticity, but we're not afraid because God is with us, and so is the intelligence. Akashic record reader, Akash, a universe, source, the heart of sky, anima mundi, you name it, all of it is here, and it always knows exactly how to stay. So we are choosing love, and we get to stand in neutrality, and those who want fear, they're gonna do fear, and there you go. We get the bright sides of neuroplasticity, and our higher self leads the way. So we have compersion in all our relationships. Again, polyamorous, monoamorous, it's all the same. And expanding each other, because otherwise, how are you going to tickle your mind's fancy, your heart's fancy, and your physical? And we grow more unconditionally loving and increase intelligence. That is through mental, emotional, and physical mastery, thanks to tapping into the depths of our feminine, again, the body, so you can feel deeply and you're not afraid of sensations that come up. You don't hide them. You're not reactive because, again, you contain them, but you don't suppress them. So, as Peter Levine says, once you're containing, that's why Pat Ogden with sensory motor, EMDR Charpat's work is important. Why Peter Levine with his somatic experiencing, and also with Deb Dana is not in this one. But long story short, EMDR, Chopper's work, and somatic experiencing. So when you're doing body-mind, because the sensations are what you begin to work with, and that behavior. So Bessel van der Kolk spells out, we are a sensory experience. So once you're familiar with all of that, the first 3 years of life, the first 8, and you're finally, okay, I can work with myself and work with another. This is awesome, because good therapists give us the way to do that. So you'll know who people are of our 5D collective, because they take becoming their whole self and not staying in their childhood trauma at all. They don't want to be half-safe people. They take the ownership of it and say, I want true love. I deserve it. So does others. And we don't want it to continue in the future. Okay? And we don't I leave alone the 3D, 4D collective as of right now. We're going to continue to make fun of them because, again, they are choosing to completely disregard healing, but they're also making fun of us, but also because we're going to just tease. I mean, anybody live a life with a little bit of humor. Plus, there's therapists all over the place. They like to twist their words. And so, anyways, putting that aside, our body and mind on this 2222 portal for the 5D, because we use our prefrontal cortex, we're anchored in that ventral energy. And so by using our social engagement state, when things come up, which they have in the past days, I knew something was up. I was like, okay, now I know. We are metabolizing versus playing out trauma time. So metabolizing means that I, as a grown-up, am able, as a non-traumatized, securely attached person, because you could be an adolescent who's learning how to do this just the same. We lead with a flow state, and in a flow state, which is not supernatural, it's simply your capacity. The Zen master doesn't know how to do it, but you do know how to do it if you're practicing mindfulness and mindset, the inner growth way, and the mindset skills, so you're good with all of that, which can come up. You don't go and do maladaptive patterns. You don't drink and fuck and do drugs and do inner critic, family in the head, outer critic. You don't do shit like that. You don't do any of the suffering, okay? You do the prefrontal cortex workout, and so you allow the flow state and your infinite higher human conscious potential to continuously come forth, sharing motivational stories that will support humanity, human evolution, and consciousness. So our collective here at IHP is all about that. We thrive thanks to living life and relationships through the ventral vagal state. Join us as the 5D collective. We are restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, and regulating mystics, spiritual and mindful people who get to bring forth our true selves and create our destiny. Spirituality simplified, being yourself mindfully anchored in ventral energy. And so the difference, Dharma, is that I'm a integrated brain and I'm a conscious person with a whole self that brings Maria, humanly speaking. Okay, and there's our enlightenment soul age group, so I don't have to learn about myself. The other soul age groups learn about themselves that way. The karma and fate people, they have a 0-8-year-old, they're subconscious, and they will live out their self-fulfilling prophecies. In fact, they also have narratives, like my facade friend and a bunch of other pause people, which would be half-safe people. But they're not half-safe for those of us who are empowered, because immunity isn't enough to be saluted, isn't any threat. You want it, why don't you give it to him? Again, no threat. So my physical body knows exactly if I need to run the fuck away, quote unquote. No, I don't usually have to. But with that being said, as I close out these stories, there's been 2 people in this place that I frequent that I don't want to be around. Physically, my body says alert, alert. Because I'm with people that I know, I don't move. But there's that. So your bell tells you, my bell tells me physical danger potential, and that's when, if I'm by myself, I will get up and leave if I'm out somewhere. As soon as that happens. If, on the other hand, my body doesn't alert me to that, and this is where others will have different relationship with people who are biologically rude. I don't. I know Stephen Porges and Jesus, and I do know forgiveness. It's just not something that I say, though, because I don't need to forgive you. You don't owe me anything, and really your attitude has nothing to do with me. It's the unfortunate, unfinished business of your own child that you could completely take ownership of and go heal and be just as, no, you could become an amazing person with healthy boundaries. A mood isn't enough to be saluted. I still wouldn't hang out with that person. Like that's the part. I have no common interest, but at least they would know how healthy self-worth works. And in the meantime, thank you, Michael Jordan. Some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, others make it happen. The 5D Collective. We make restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating people happen, mystics, and true spirituality. Because living a life of meaning and connection, it's beyond the solo self, beyond the solo self. And that's sciences and spirituality together. So I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live and learn and expand and not cast stones, and I lost papers. We'll be back with more. So we delight in each other, integrated brains, expanding ourselves and our themes and everything. And that's why we don't judge polyamory, monoamory. We learn how to use different words, and we have fun with it, because really nothing's set in stone. But you better bet that those of us who have integrity don't need it to be set in stone. We have what it takes to make it work, because we are present, we attune, we resonate, and we trust. And that means we're vulnerable from our open-heartedness. An open-hearted, spontaneous, functional child adults creates only genuine relationships. And even when someone is a past self, it's still going to be our brothers, sisters, and in our oversoul. So we don't cut people out just because they have bad manners. Some people cut us out because we are crooked and whores and masochists and Luciferian and a bunch of other, pretty much any closed-brained person will have a bunch of insults for 5D mystics and the 5D mindfully living, loving people with compassion. How dare you have compassion? No. And we let them use those little fingers, because I mean, really, that's how they were talked to. And it's like, no, I can't actually do anything about it. I'm going to be sitting in that which is called Shiva, who is an embodiment of the same, meaning he is half feminine, half masculine. It's only when you're empowered with both fully that you're a full-fledged human being, as lovely Sadhguru pointed out. And so we know about it. A feminine isn't like, ew, I have an empowered masculine. No, and an empowered masculine won't be like, ew, I have an empowered feminine. It'll be like, well, no shit, I have a body. Yep, I got sensations. I got feelings. That you're in love with me. Well, maybe, I don't know. We need to speak it out. So that's the other part. Yes, we have a mind that thinks clearly. And so you build secure attachment relationships by choosing together in speakage what's going on. Okay, we'll be back with more. In the meantime, I thank you for being here. Like, share, subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. Empowered people love to love, live, laugh, and learn. This is why all of our oversoul is special. That's why I might make one for our oversoul. I'll think about it. In the meantime, thanks again for stopping by.